Welcome to the Aligned Life Podcast by yours truly, Dr. Tiffany. How about we get out that magnifying glass and look at every part of your life? The awesome, the suck, and everything in between. There's so much beauty in you. Stop being afraid of what isn't good enough and let's double down on what is together. It's about your truth and your life, aligned. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aligned Life Podcast with Dr. Tiffany. Today we have Mandee McKinnon. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her and then mostly give her the mic. Hi, Mandee.
Hello, how are you?
Awesome.
Good.
So I met her 16 years ago, by the way.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, 16 years ago, I had moved back from school and I was doing my externship and decided I was going to open my own practice. And I don't even know who referred me to you, but you were the marketing gal in the agency that I worked with. And Mandee created all my visual system. Sounds so professional. Well, it was professional, but
yes.
My logo, I mean, all of it. Mandee, I still have it. It's also the same.
I love it. Yep.
The colors.
Yep.
Oh, timeless.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Good.
I really wanted to bring you on here to talk a little bit more real. We might banter a little bit, but there's not a lot of people that put their life out there, right?
Correct.
Kind of live in a space of visibility and vulnerability and transparency. And so I want to put that out there. I want to just share your story. You get to share your story, I guess,
Yeah.
and talk about all the things that everybody listening probably has struggled with. They just don't talk about it. And
Absolutely.
when we can create a circle of people around us that we feel safe, secure, and the rocket ship is able to like blow off, because I think that's why sometimes rocket ships don't blow off, is because you don't have a team.
Right.
We're going to dive into all that and really get into the who of who you are behind the scenes, as quote untraditional as you are.
Right.
I mean, from the outside, you're not untraditional. We're going to talk about things that might make people blush.
Right. How I roll.
It's awesome. Okay, let's just start. First question, and then we're just going to roll with it.
Perfect.
What was your biggest struggle as a human that probably wasn't uncovered right away? But as you look back and you worked and you did your W-2 and then you started your own business and then you had a baby and now you have all these kids, like all the things, right? You can look back at the chronicles of life.
I would say, one of the biggest things with me is I'm notorious for being a helper who doesn't ask for help. Yeah. And it really has put me into corners that I did not want to be on, be in, I should say. And, I learned a lot, obviously, from the journey. And I think everybody does. I don't necessarily regret anything, but I really do try to take a step back when I feel just completely drained and go, okay, what am I doing for everyone else and not doing for myself?
I love that.
And I think that is probably a natural place for a lot of women to be in, but damn, it does not feel good a lot of the time, and I don't help or give to get anything back. I know they talk about, what you put into the universe comes back to you. And sometimes I'm like, F that, not true. Like, well, here I am.
I'm still waiting.
Shining example of that being a big lie. Okay. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but I would say, I think a lot of that, honestly, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My mom is the oldest of 7 kids. And so I feel like that I totally took that on too, like how she did. She lost her mom when she was 21. And, my uncle at that time was 9. So, big Catholic family going through a lot. And so she grew up quickly and she had me the summer before her senior year of high school. So didn't have, the college years that a lot of people get. So, even when I went to college, if I had things like bad grades, I I shouldn't have an excuse because I didn't have a freaking kid, in college like she did. I mean, she graduated with honors and I was like, all right, I'll get it together. Like,
Yep.
I'm trying,
I'm still trying.
Yeah. I mean, for real. But yeah, it just was ingrained in me to always be there for other people. And I still work every day to be there for myself and try to communicate how I need others to communicate with me or help me. And I mean, it's a kind of a constant thing, with John and I, my significant other, I'm like, why aren't you reading my mind? I mean, it should be pretty physically obvious sometimes. I mean, if I look like a haggard mess, there's a good chance I need something taken off my plate.
Absolutely. I was just prepping for doing some training on the difference between implied, assumed, and communicated, and how when we feel like the people that always feel misunderstood typically are poor communicators because they always think somebody should read their mind. And if that person doesn't read their mind, then there's, like, how dare you? Don't you know me? Why are you being selfish? The dreaded mirror put
right.
Like, oh,
exactly.
I suck right now.
Well, and I think, I am a pretty solid communicator in business, I would say, but professionally, I mean, truly, it's where I struggle. And I do think it is obviously the asking for help thing.
So do you notice before you get haggard, before you are a hot, holy mess?
Yes.
Do you notice the imbalance?
Yes,
sooner?
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that? What do you feel like in your body? I think this will help a lot of people. What are the signs that you're like, oh, Mandee, come on now?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm like not finishing anything. Like I do little bits of everything. Like I'm just like chasing my tail. Like I'll be working on a project or whatever, especially even at home. It's like I'm working on something and all of a sudden John will be like, is the kitchen sink running for a reason? I'm like, back off. Like, just back off. Just shut the damn thing off. Like, why do you have to talk to me about it? Like, I was like, clearly it's not running for a reason other than I freaking forgot about it. I mean, it's like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, all right, I'm losing it.
Yep. Mama needs time out.
Yeah. But that's what I do. I get like irritated because I'm like, why are you asking this just stupid question and just help me by shutting off the water or whatever it is, the oven or, I don't know. But yes, I notice because I get short and mostly with him, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I think, the places that are the safest is where we feel like we can express right or wrong. But that typically is how that goes.
Yes.
Which, they're kindly watching us play with fire.
Right.
Without saying anything. Like, so you wonder how long he actually knew that the faucet was running.
Right.
And he's just hoping like, honey, God,
just get back out here.
Is there anything that is like going to trigger you to think that you maybe forgot this?
Right. No. I know another thing too is I feel like I'm always doing laundry because I have two bonus sons too that are 12 and 15 and a 1.5-year-old daughter and all of the things. And I mean, he'll look at me and go, what are you doing? As I'm bringing a freaking basket of laundry downstairs. And I'm like, yeah, weird. I am doing laundry. Like, can you see the basket of clothes in my hands? Like, and I'm sure he's like, wow. Like, because that's how I reply. Like, I'm like, are you stupid? Like,
right? I know the old, the wisdom of respond instead of react, right?
Right.
Nope. For this moment, you're going to get a really strong reaction.
Yes.
And you're going to not do it again.
Right.
Okay. From the helper standpoint, because we have a gift and challenge in everything we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your gift is a giver. It's a connector. Of course, there's the imbalanced and balanced state of all of it.
Yes.
How has it created your genius or your gift? Like, what has that always being a caretaker and a helper and making sure everybody's good, not in a controlled way,
right?
The imbalanced Mandee, probably you want to control things. I imagine that's one of your signs.
Absolutely.
When you need to ask for more help, you're just trying to control. But how has that exponentially changed your life and your business and you as a mom and all the things?
I feel like I'm very in tune to the human in people. I can read people when they need something and, don't necessarily even have to ask me for help or ask me for insight or whatever it is. So, my clients too, it's like, I really make every effort to get to know them truly as people, their families, what they're going through, all of it, because it ultimately affects their business too, regardless of whether or not people think it does, it always does. Yep. And that too, I think has allowed me to really have loyalty from my clients too. And that we both can say, man, it's been a crap week, or, I'm sorry, I am not as far in this project as I thought I was going to be. And here is why. And I know they always say like excuses are like a-holes. Everyone has them. But, if you're not getting something done, there's typically a pretty solid reason. And so the relationship building is strong in me. And, that empathy piece. I used to say like in business when I was managing people before, and I think it was, too, because I was younger and I was really trying to prove something. When I was managing people, I always felt like I shouldn't really have feelings, like I should just do the work and make sure I'm checking off the to-do list. But now in raising my daughter, who's 1.5, I was sick with the stomach flu and John was out in the living room and I text him and I'm like, I'm throwing up. Can you come get her? And she's right next to me, rubbing my shoulder, going, oh, like just the cutest little thing. And I'm like, that's me. Like at 1.5 years old. And that's pretty cool. That I can already see those little pieces of me in her. And then of course, the next day she has a little potty, like our big potty. And she goes to it and goes, mimicking me like she's throwing up. I'm like, well, this is great. So she clearly has that humor side of her too. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wait till she's at the kitchen table and slaps her hand down and throws the F-bomb out.
Oh yeah.
When she's 2 and you and John look at each other like, well, that only came from one place.
Yeah.
So she gets to learn everything.
Yes. All of it.
Can you talk about your growing up years? The reason I created this podcast actually was Callan and I were going to do, it was her really talking about her middle school experience, her high school experience, her habits as a student athlete and someone of excellence, right? Like just from a kid's voice, because there's so much power in that.
Absolutely.
When you wrote of the bullying stuff growing up, I want to know a little bit more. And we'll talk real, because I think that word is thrown around way more than what it should be, right?
Yes,
that doesn't mean that the person doesn't feel that, but the difference in bullying is different 20 years ago than it is now because of so many more means.
For sure. Yeah.
You think of our phones, right? Oh my gosh, praise the Lord, we didn't have that. Because I was also in middle school and it was awful. But I want to touch on that because I think there will be, whether it's parents having their kids going through it right now, I also think post-COVID, it's a struggle for kids just to be back in school. Kids are struggling. Their parents are struggling. We have massive mental health issues.
Absolutely.
We did before, but this has totally brought a light to households that are really, really struggling. So I would love to talk real about what it is, what happened, how that went down, but most importantly, how that impacted your life and how you were able to turn it into good and now help those people struggling with the same things.
Yeah. One of the things that I just kind of, even from a theme, was that I allowed it to make me better and not bitter. And my bullying happened, really pre-junior high and high school, which are typically kind of the harder years for people. Mine started way back, even in kindergarten. And ultimately it was because I was overweight and we did not have a lot of money. I mean, we shopped at garage sales and things like that. And I mean, I remember, you think of a little kindergartner this one kid, and, I've seen pictures of him now and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm good. But he said, Mandee 2x4 can't fit through the kindergartner door. And I'm just like, I remember that. Like it was yesterday. And I'm freaking 40 years old. I was shoved in snowbanks. I had my shoes stolen. I mean, just all kinds of things. So like physical and emotional stuff tossed at me all the time from some pretty repeat offenders, too, like at the bus stop and things like that. And I remember all of that so vividly. And I think too, it's really, I never want to be that person to anybody. And I don't want my kids in my house to be those people to anybody. The 12-year-old in our home, he deals with kind of, some of that stuff too. And I always tell him, it's not you, it's them. They have something going on inside of themselves mentally or in their home. Like we don't know their living situation. So I think it's always important to remember that. And I think you and I have talked about this too over the years, Tiffany, that hurt people. Yeah. And, that's a very real thing. And even, there's moments along my journey when I've been hurting that I know I've hurt people, because of that too. But it's just really important to have that sense of awareness. And words do hurt. And the fact that I remember them and I can visually see things still that happened to me at that young of an age. Bullying is one thing, but then you think of kids growing up in homes with domestic violence, sexual abuse, all of that. And then, you have those kids too, or poverty. We talked about COVID. There's just some really deep, heavy stuff that's going on for people. And, it's like I continue to hear about, giving yourself grace and giving people grace, and it needs to happen. But I think we need to have real conversations with kids. I'm very, very transparent with Marcus about how I grew up and how I was bullied. And, even the things I said, I'd be like, you better shut up or I'm going to sit on you. Like, okay, I did not talk about adding fuel to the fire. Like,
oh my gosh.
But it was like the only thing I knew how to kind of scare them,
Right.
And
that
even
was your power.
Yeah. In fourth grade, I remember in gym class, I don't know why the hell they did this, but they weighed everybody in front of everybody, like for fitness testing. I'm like, all right, we're all aware that I can't do a pull-up or a push-up or all the things. So now let's weigh me in front of everybody. And it was those old school scales where they had the clicker. Well, they had to click mine to 100. And it was like the proverbial gasp behind me in line, like, all these kids. And I'm like, yeah, just owning my little beefcake self over here. Like just try. But that even in itself, like now into adulthood, even weighing myself, I continue to battle that. It's like, okay, Mandee, it's not about what you weigh. It's about how you fit in your clothes, how you feel. But still that scale like haunts me. Yeah. But I want to know. I do want to know the number, too. So it has affected me growing up and yo-yo dieting and all of that too. It's greatly impacted how I feel about food. And, I joke and I'll say like, oh, I'm eating my emotions, but sometimes really do. And unfortunately, my vice is sugar, which is like one of the worst things for you too, So it's like, I try to be mindful of that as well. And that affects your mental health. And, you have that sugar high and then you're sluggish as all get out afterwards too.
Was there a time that you can look back when you shifted it? Like, of course it's gradual, right? Things happen and we heal parts of the past, and it can either, like you said, make you better, move you forward, move you back. But was there a time that you're like, oh, this is part of why it happened? Like if we were actually say your mess is your message.
Yes.
Was there a time that you're like, yes, this happened so I can take this information and pivot? Because there's so much in self-worthiness with, especially with how you were bullied.
I think for me, high school, it's interesting because I actually took up dance in high school. I started dance line and all of that. That just fed my soul. It was one of those things. So I think it was like the finding those things that filled your cup when other people were trying to dump it out. Yeah. And then art and creativity too. I had the greatest art teacher at Moorhead High. He would let me go in his room and just like throw on the pottery wheel when I didn't have class, kind of just get out of my own head. So, having adults in your life that get you to and allow you to just be who you are. And then in college, my confidence continued to build. And I joined a sorority my sophomore year, which I never thought I would ever do. Like I was like, ew, sorority girls, gross. And then I realized that I was hanging out with only sorority girls pretty much. But then my leadership really started to come to the forefront because I was surrounded with people who believed in me and also accountability. So we were accountable for grades. As far as drinking and partying, we had like a governing board, as part of our sorority that would call us on our BS, that if we were being, renegades and, then it's like reputation. And then now looking back at that, I'm like, I was essentially like starting to build my brand even then as an individual. I kind of like that evolution, but I really realized it in college. I would say that all the crap that I had been through brought me to where I am now. And again, like helping and leading and all of those things kind of go hand in hand, whatever, too.
Yeah, that's amazing. How do you continue to spread that message? What you just said, the balance between renegade, because you're totally a renegade.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like you are on the outside.
Yeah.
Really. You have that very strong balance of masculine, feminine, forward, calm energy. How does that show up in life and how are you making a bigger impact because of that?
As far as mental health, I think that's one of the areas that I'm big into, and also, confidence. So I served on the board for Imagine Thriving for 2 years, which focused on the mental health of children in our communities, getting them to doctor's appointments that they needed, to therapy, meds, all of that, and bringing that into school systems, which really is critical, which obviously, LSS bought them out. And now, LSS is going through a lot of things too. So I'm not on that board anymore, but now getting a lot more heavily involved with Bio Girls. I've always loved that organization. I actually helped them kind of tweak their logo a few years ago and then sat in on some kind of strategy meetings. And then now, obviously, with having Evelyn, I'm like, I totally want her to have that beautiful inside and out and have that kind of spiritual, physical, emotional, all of that stuff working together to make her a stronger individual. And so I want to lead by example. So, she at a very young age is obviously, seeing me navigate a business and being a mom, but then also, giving back to the community. Community-wise, I'm a renegade. I'm a bulldog. I'll fight for the organizations that I work for. It's like kind of like my family and friends. You mess with them, it's not going to be pretty. I take that on with my clients and, like I said, those organizations that I devote my time to.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to talk about boss lady and raising children because what you just said was, so my kids are 20 and 16 now. Can you believe that? I just had little peanuts when I
was crazy. I know.
So nuts. But I remember the total struggle. It's what I teach on probably the most.
Yes.
Is the struggle in all of the identities of our roles. So back then I was Dr. Tiffany, which was the professional. When they said I needed to wear button-up pants and heels and a button-up shirt, I'm like, okay, well, that was Dr. Tiffany, right? Then we have Dr. Tiff, who's the casual, still my doctor hat, still might not swear in front of people, Right. And then I got Tiff.
Yes.
So I had these categories of people, and then pretty soon it got so damn confusing that I couldn't figure out who I was supposed to be at some point. And then I'm like, poof, I'm done. I have to figure out who is behind being a mom and being a wife and being a leader and then being the healer and then being the high school and college friend versus the basketball coach. Oh, well, those are kind of two different people.
Right.
And I remember I was at a seminar and it was 14 years ago, 15. I mean, I was out of the gates, bulldog, just like you. And I remember somebody saying, the most important thing you can do to create entrepreneurship in your kids and have them, girl especially, have Callan see what it's like to successfully be all of the things that you want to be while still being true to you is to actually freaking do it. And I was like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it. But to break that down, the best thing for Evie to be it is to see it.
Yes, I agree.
So for you to not have the pressure and expectation of doing it perfectly, but actually doing all the things that you said you're doing, because she becomes what you do. That's right. That's what they see, right?
Yes.
Is the impact you're making. I mentor a lot of female chiropractors, and it's the biggest struggle of caretaking with a practice and caretaking at home. In that, if you are fully committed to building your practice, you got to just figure out where your deal breakers are, right? Like, are you going to miss the kindergarten choir concert? Well, I don't know. Who's to tell you what's the most important? There's so much judgment, right? Out there.
Yes,
like, well, your business is more important. Well, screw you. You have no idea. If I'm paying to get supper on the table tonight, she has a dad too. So he's there.
Yes.
But now that you're navigating this, she's a year and a half. Things will get a lot harder when she's in more stuff, right?
Yes,
and I don't mean that in a negative way, but the deal breakers change. Do you have deal breakers? Do you have the things that you're like, she will always come first in this situation, but mama needs to work here. Pretty soon you're going to realize the sacrifice that it took, and then she's going to be that, right?
Yeah. I still am obviously, like I said, she's a year and a half. I'm trying to figure it out. In true fashion, my daughter came almost a month early. So I was trying to be like super proactive and get everything in order for my business, and that didn't happen. And so I really also didn't have a maternity leave, I guess, if you will. I mean, I strapped her on the front of me and had my laptop on the couch. So I'm really trying to figure out those deal breakers. You know, one of the things for me is, even now when I'm working, she's at daycare, and I don't necessarily want her to go to daycare more than like 8 hours a day. It's like, I'm trying to figure out from a time perspective. And if I drop her off earlier than I typically would, then I'm picking her up earlier. It's just something within my heart and soul that feels good for me. Like you said, everybody kind of figures out that, on their own, but obviously becoming a mom a lot later in life, and I fought like hell to get her. I mean, my chance of having her was 3% based on all the testing and stuff that the doctors did. I didn't go through any fertility treatments. I knew my head and my body couldn't handle it. I just had been through enough. And so she is going to come first. And not that my business isn't important, but if she's sick, she finds comfort in mom. And I want to be able to be that comfort for her. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens days on end. I mean, like I said, we were in quarantine, all that stuff, but I can work from anywhere too. And she never seems to nap when I try to schedule a phone call. So I just either say, all right, we need to be flexible with the time, or she might be screaming in the background. So you choose. And so I leave that up to my clients if that's kind of how things shake out. Luckily, most of my clients have kids or had kids in the home, and so get it. It's been really interesting because I've worked really freaking hard to build this business over the last 9 years. And the last thing I want to do is let people down, especially, in the last year, I've been doing it left and right. Saying no to new clients, which was really, really hard for me, to, projects that I would love to work on, but just knowing that I'm going to suck at it because I have the key. I have other clients that I'm already working on things with, and it's like, hey, I swear, it's like I sent that email. Hey, I swear to God, I didn't forget about you. It's just like everything else happened and whatever. I even said to a potential client last week, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you've gone with someone else, I totally get it, because life is throwing me curveballs left and right, and I just need to be where I need to be. So if someone else got the project, good on them. They clearly have.
I think that's the key of all of it. You started with, I make decisions based on what my heart and soul wants, no matter what stage we're in. I had babies when I was in chiropractic school, so my decisions were different to put food on the table. Everybody has But that's the key. There is no expert that can tell you what to do and how to do it.
Right.
It has to come from heart soul connection, like what actually feels good right now.
Yes.
Because so much of it, when you talked about your old managerial ways, was just to push, right? Progress, success, achievement.
Right. All the things on the wall that you read about. Like.
Right. Which we can have that.
Yes.
We're drivers, right?
Yes.
We can have the achievement, but dang, if you don't have like what actually freaking matters, and if what's in your soul isn't coming out into the world to help people, I'm not sure what the point is.
Right. Well, and when I look back now too, when I was that way, pushing, managing people, my home life wasn't happy. I was at work all the time because I chose to be at work all the time. And you can't always expect people to match your effort, especially employees, especially as a business owner. Entrepreneurs cannot expect their employees to think, breathe, act, all of it like an entrepreneur, because they're not. I mean, you can say we have overhead and blah, 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 and all these things that we need to achieve. They don't get it. They shouldn't have to get it. You're the one that took the risk as the business owner.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to take that on because you chose to.
It took me a long time to figure that out, because it came into the kind of like when you said you were overwhelmed and you didn't ask for help and the faucet's running, and then all of a sudden he says, well,
right.
Shut up.
You're like, my horns in my head.
We got some horns and we might have some fire. But when you're in that driving all the time and someone doesn't understand your perspective, understanding that it is not their place to understand your perspective is the most wise thing we can figure out.
Absolutely.
Especially in entrepreneurship.
Yes. And I think it's interesting too, talking about like John, and my expectation is, that he read my mind. And I know that's not reality. My God, I've been in a handful of relationships and it's never happened. So
thank God, like we don't want someone to actually know what we're thinking all the time.
It would be very, very bad. Very bad. No, but it's interesting to talk about like the people that you have surround yourself. You talk about like your high school friends and your college friends, and my high school friends I still talk to here and there, but I mean very little. My college friends I have deep connections with. There's a group of us pre-COVID. We'd always get together at least once a year, make that time for each other. I mean, and it was like we had never not been together. It was like we were together every day. But then, I have some fantastic relationships that, I've kept into adulthood. And even, like my friend Cassie, John laughs at me all the time or will make fun of me. He's like, Jesus, like you guys talk all the time. It's weird, whatever. And I'm like, you know what, man, we're running businesses. We work together, on her business as far as marketing. We both have kids. I mean, it's just, we're in that same kind of hustle and grind of life. And it's a safe place to vent or bounce ideas off or whatever. And we need it. I mean, you need that and even like accountability and talking about dreams, having someone to help you think differently. But you talk about, being a good read on people. Like if I'm responding to text messages, she'll go, okay, you're quiet. Do you need me to leave you alone or are you okay? And I'm like, oh man, I'm not okay. Like, how do you know? How'd you know? You're not even here. Like, not even right next to me. Why doesn't John know? It's super important. If you can have those people in your life, hang on to them because they are invaluable.
Yeah, they're gold. And now, with social media the way it is, it's really easy to take the opinions of others who you could give a crap less about. You don't even know them, but they might say something on your Facebook profile and you take it personally. Right. So we're up against so many distractions that pull us away from the circle of influence that we really want to pour into and have them pour into us, and that reciprocation and that understanding. Plus girls just can talk about different things, right? Like
for sure.
Just a whole different, thank God, you should just tell John, thank God for Cassie, because you would think I'm totally
That's right. upset. I was like, you don't want to deal with this. I assure you. You don't got it in you, man.
Oh, okay. We're going to leave with what is a tip or a strategy or tactic or a mantra? I don't care what you give, but for moms in the grind.
Oh, I mean, I've said it now, obviously with business and, as a mom, but go with my gut. If I feel like she's feeling off or I'm feeling off, like I'm asking the questions, my gut has served me so well, and it usually is right. So if it's, you need time away from something, or even time away from your kid or kids or whatever it is. I mean, I was texting that with my girlfriends. I do need some time away to just be me and hang out and curse and whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Try to make that time too. I'm really, really trying hard.
Yep.
But we've come up against some health things with family and whatnot, but we're rocking through it. But go with your gut.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. Okay, so obviously you're not really taking on new clients, but
well, I mean, I am. That's the thing. Yes. I mean, they're just, from a timing perspective, I'm going, no, I can't take that on this week. And that's the thing too, I find is because everybody has life happening, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I need this done. Well, then it becomes everyone else's emergency. And so that's where I'm like, I can't take on your emergency right now because I have my own. Now, if I have a potential client who has a realistic timeline and they're not needing it in 24 hours, then yes, we will absolutely chat. And I have a graphic designer starting next week too, which hopefully will be, obviously a big help and hammering out a lot of things.
Yeah, my team concept is you can go fast alone, but you can go far together.
Right.
And that's building your team to be able to make a greater impact that you want to make, whatever that is. Build the legacy you want to build is likely going to take more people than just you.
Absolutely.
A lot of people actually give me the middle finger when I say that because they're like, screw you. I do not want all the problems you have with your team, like big people have with their team. That's what they're supposed to do. You have experts that do this well, right? We're not supposed to wear all the hats all the time.
Yeah.
And still create a legacy in your business to make the community better.
Yes. I mean, I've gone back and forth with hiring. I've talked to my friends in the HR and recruiting industry, some of them. Yeah, I can't do it alone. And I know that. And granted, like I have my business lawyer and I have my CPA and my accountant and those outside resources that support me. But in the business, there's only so much automation you can do when you want to keep it human. And that's what I'm about. I will only automate so much. And once I get to that point, no, I'm not having it. I need the human side of things.
Yeah. I love you. Okay. So tell people how to follow you or how to do business with you and where you're located and all this stuff.
You can hop on my website at mintbrandmarketing.com. Once you're there, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Check out my video I posted today. You're gonna die. It's freaking hilarious. Also a little taste of my personality for you. And just moved into a new office, actually, kind of over by Brutus off of 32nd and Veterans. It's called Studio 6. Cool space. So come on by.
Yeah. You are starting to make decisions to reach the masses, my friend.
Yes.
That's much different than being a home-based business. I'll tell you that.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Just the energy of it. I mean, I talk about the energy of things all the time, the energy of your decision. Sometimes you need to make the hard decisions, but the energy of that will totally transform all the next steps because we need to make the hard decisions in the beginning to allow it to shift. So
I agree. Like signing a lease during COVID. You so smart. You so smart. But that's just doing it, right? Just do it. Nike has it right.
Yeah, I don't think there's, just remember 99% of the people don't do it.
Exactly.
They aren't doing it. No. So just continue to do the hard things that other people don't do.
Yes.
That's part of the renegade bulldog. If you were to shy away from that and avoid that, that probably isn't in the essence of you. I don't mean business. I just mean the renegade decisions.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the reality is when I started my business, I put my 2 weeks in at my job and I didn't have a plan at all.
That's renegade decision.
Yeah. Like my mom, my poor mom. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to have health insurance? I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get clients. Let's do this. So
that's the difference.
Go time.
Yeah. I love your story. I appreciate you being vulnerable. I mean, we could have talked about a lot of other stuff, but hey, we kept it pretty PG-13.
We did. There's a lot more I could talk about. Maybe for me.
I know. Give us a cocktail hour with a few microphones and it might not turn out good.
Okay. We'll be bleeping a lot of things, I fear.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Guys, check out all our information and see how she can, the part I love about you the best, especially if you don't know you, is your Facebook posts or social media posts. Because just like you said, you just posted a video, you get a pretty good idea as to what I stand for. That's what I mean by real, vulnerable, transparent, because that's not really out in the world anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's able to be out in the world now more because we can do a bit more through social media and show our personality instead of always being physically out there. Check her out because it is the real human behind the renegade and rebel. I love it.
It's an unfiltered life. That's for sure.
Unfiltered. That's maybe the title, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
Side chirps all the time. I usually, like my birdie, usually keeps all that shit quiet. But okay. Love, appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and following the Aligned Life podcast with Dr. Tiffany. If you love this and can think of anyone who needs to hear about it, would you mind sharing with them? Find me online at drtiffanyjohnson.com, where you can find out more about my memberships, courses, mentoring, and any upcoming events. To learn more about chiropractic for you and your family, go to htchiro.com and follow our social pages. I can't wait to connect with you soon, and until then, be you, be aligned.